All right, ready for a deep dive into daily dog care. Someone sent us an awesome guide, and it seems like they want to go beyond the basics, really make sure their pup is thriving.
Yeah, I love that. It's awesome. It really is a journey, taking care of a dog. They rely on us for so much, way more than just food and walks.
So true. This guide, it jumps right into it. Nutrition, exercise, grooming, mental stimulation, vet care. It's a lot, gotta say. What jumps out at you? Where would you even start?
Well, one thing that I noticed is how they emphasize that all these different parts of dog care are connected. It's not just about checking off boxes, right? It's about their whole lifestyle, making sure they're well physically and mentally.
Yeah, I see that a lot in the guide. Like how they say exercise isn't just to burn energy, it's a big part of mental health too. A tired dog is less likely to destroy your house.
Exactly. So many behavior problems come from being bored or not getting enough mental stimulation. You got to make sure they are getting enough activity and mental enrichment, which luckily there are a ton of ways to do.
Okay, so exercise and mental stimulation, got it. What about nutrition? We all know dogs need to eat, but this guide is really specific about picking the right food for their age, their breed, even how active they are. Is all that really important?
Absolutely. It is. It's about recognizing that, well, not all dogs are the same, right? They need different things in their diet, just like humans do. A puppy that's growing needs different food than, say, a senior dog. And big, active breeds need way more calories than a smaller, more chill dog.
Makes sense. So we shouldn't just buy the biggest bag of dog food, huh? It's more like finding the right fuel,
Right.
right? Like for your specific dog.
Exactly. And it's a good idea to talk to your vet, especially if you're not sure about how much to feed them or if you're worried about their health. They can help figure out a good diet plan, one that'll keep them happy, healthy, and energetic.
Great point. Now, on to a subject I love. Treats. We want to keep them healthy, but can we still spoil them a little without going overboard?
Of course, you can. Treats, they can be a really good tool, especially for training. But like anything else, not too much. Pick some healthier treats, ones with less calories, and make sure to think about them when you're figuring out how much food to give them every day.
I've heard people talk about using their dog's regular food for training. Do you think that's a good idea?
It's a great idea, yeah. It's a smart way to keep their calories in check, especially for dogs who, gain weight easily. You can reward them without giving them extra calories.
Smart. Okay, moving on from those yummy distractions. Water. This might seem obvious, but the guide really makes a point about how important hydration is.
And it's true, it's so important. We tend to focus so much on food that we forget water is just as important for their health. It's like us. They need it for everything, from digesting food to staying cool to their organs working right. Dehydration is dangerous. It can be really dangerous.
So they should have fresh water all the time,
Yeah.
not just with their meals, right?
Right. And especially after exercise or playing, when they're more likely to be dehydrated, make sure they have lots of water then.
Got it. So we've covered nutrition and hydration, both super important for keeping our dogs healthy. Now, how about grooming? Gotta say, sometimes our furry friends can get a little, smelly.
Oh, absolutely. But grooming isn't just about keeping them looking good, for pictures and stuff. It's a big part of their health and well-being.
Really? I always thought brushing was more about, keeping them looking nice.
Well, it definitely helps with that, keeping their fur shiny and preventing mats. But it's way more than that. When you brush them regularly, it gets rid of loose fur, dirt, and all that stuff. And that stops mats, which can be painful. It even helps spread those natural oils around, which keeps their skin and coat healthy.
Wow. I didn't know it was that important. So how often should we brush them?
It really depends on their breed and their coat type. Some dogs need a brush every day to stop those mats from forming, but others, maybe once or twice a week is fine. A good rule is just to check their coat often and brush them whenever it needs it, to keep it nice and smooth.
So it's like giving them personalized hair care.
Yeah, exactly. And just like our hair, the type of brush matters. A slicker brush is good for getting rid of loose fur, but a bristle brush, that's good for spreading the oils and making their coat all shiny.
Okay, now, for something some dogs might not love, baths. How often should we be giving them a bath?
This one's tricky. People usually say every 4 to 6 weeks, but it depends, Depends on your dog's lifestyle and breed. If they love rolling around in mud, well, they might need more baths.
So we got to use the sniff test, huh?
Exactly. And don't forget, you got to use a shampoo made for dogs, one that's gentle. Human shampoos are too harsh. They can dry out their skin and make them itchy.
No sharing our fancy
Wow.
shampoo then. All right, what about their teeth? The guide says dental care is important, but is it really a big deal?
It is. People don't always think about it, but dental care for dogs, it's just as important as it is for us. Plaque and tartar, they can lead to gum disease, tooth loss, even infections that spread to other parts of their body.
Wow, I had no idea it could be that bad.
Yeah, it's something to take seriously. But luckily, it's pretty easy to prevent these problems. Brushing their teeth regularly with a toothpaste for dogs, that makes a huge difference.
Time to grab the doggy toothbrush then.
Yeah. Try to brush their teeth a couple of times a week. You can also use dental chews or toys. Those help too. They can help get rid of plaque and freshen their breath.
So many options.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about brushing, baths, and teeth. It's a lot. Anything else about grooming that we need to know?
Oh, yeah. You got to trim their nails, to keep them from getting too long. That can be uncomfortable, even painful for them. And cleaning their ears is important too, especially if they have floppy ears. Those can get infected easily. And their eyes, you can just use a damp cloth just to keep them clean and get rid of any gunk.
It really is a whole body experience, huh? We covered a ton of this first part. From nutrition and hydration to all that grooming stuff, it's obvious that taking care of a dog is a lot more than just the basics.
Totally. And I know it can seem like a lot, but just remember, it's about finding a routine that works for both you and your pup. And it's so worth it, A healthy, happy dog, that's the reward.
Welcome back. Ready to keep diving into daily dog care. We talked about nutrition, hydration, and grooming last time. Now let's get those tails wagging and talk about exercise and mental stimulation.
Yes, let's get moving. I used to think a walk every day was enough, But this guide really emphasizes going beyond just physical exercise. They talk about enrichment.
Right, enrichment. It's all about engaging their minds and bodies, letting them do what dogs naturally want to do. That keeps them from getting bored.
So it's not just about tiring them out, it's about giving them outlets for those natural behaviors and keeping their minds busy. Exactly. And there are so many fun ways to do that, like playing fetch, frisbee, those interactive games, or puzzle toys. Those make them work for their treats. And even agility training. That's a good challenge, physically and mentally.
You mentioned puzzle toys. I've seen them, but I never really got how they worked or why they were so good.
Oh, they're great for their brains. Imagine like a treat hidden in a toy. They got to figure out how to get it out. Keeps them entertained, especially when you can't play with them.
So it's like a brain workout for dogs.
Totally. And there are so many different kinds, like simple ones that just dispense treats, and then more complicated ones that they have to solve. You can even make your own, get creative with stuff you have around the house.
I love that idea. It sounds fun and challenging. What about training? I know basic obedience is important, but is there more to it than just teaching them sit and stay?
Definitely. Training is so much more than just those basic commands. It's a great way to bond with your dog, and you learn to communicate better. Plus, it gives them mental stimulation.
Training's always been really rewarding, I think, for both me and my dog. But I'll admit, I struggle to be consistent with it sometimes.
You're right. Consistency is key. And you got to make those sessions fun for both of you. Positive reinforcement, that's the way to go. Reward them when they do something good, like give them treats or praise. That'll make them want to learn.
Positive reinforcement, that makes a lot of sense. I've noticed a difference in my dog when I focus on rewarding the good stuff instead of just punishing the bad.
That's great. And remember, training never really stops. Even when they know the basics, you can always teach them new tricks, new commands. Keeps their mind sharp, and it's a good way to bond.
Okay, so we've talked about puzzle toys and training. What else can we do to give them mental stimulation and enrichment? This guy talks about new experiences.
Oh yeah, new experiences are important. Dogs love new stuff. Take them to new places, let them see and hear and smell different things. That keeps their senses stimulated.
It's like taking them on adventures.
Exactly, like hiking in different parks, going to pet-friendly stores, or even just changing up your walking route. It keeps them from getting bored, helps them relax, and it can even make them more confident.
I love that. And it helps with socialization too, right?
You're right, socialization is super important, especially when they're puppies. But even when they're older, you got to keep giving them chances to interact in a good way, That helps them learn how to act around other dogs and people, and it makes them more confident.
It makes sense. A dog that's well socialized is usually happier, less anxious when they're in new situations, right?
Right. And socializing them doesn't have to be complicated. Just walk them in busy areas, take them to the dog park if they're okay with that, or even have friends over to meet your pup.
So many good tips. We've covered a lot today, from playing and puzzle toys to training and socialization. I feel like I'm starting to see things differently.
That's great. Remember, exercise and mental stimulation, it's not just about checking things off a list. It's about enriching their lives, making your bond stronger, and making sure they're happy and healthy, both physically and mentally.
Very well said. And on that note, let's move on to the final chapter of this deep dive. Next up, we're going to talk about their health and going to the vet. All right, welcome back to the final part of this deep dive, all about daily dog care. We've talked about a lot: nutrition, exercise, grooming, keeping their minds active. But there's one big thing left right: keeping them healthy.
You got it. And all those things we talked about, they're part of it, keeping them well overall. But this is where preventative care is so important. Taking them to the vet regularly, that's the best way to catch any problems early and make sure they stay healthy for a long time.
Yeah, this guide really pushes those routine checkups, but how often is enough, really? Once a
Yeah.
year.
Well, that's a good question. It depends, kind of like with people. It depends how old your dog is, how healthy they are in general. For healthy adults, yeah, once a year is usually fine. But puppies, older dogs, and dogs who already have some health issues, they might need to go more often.
Makes sense. Like with people, the younger and older you are, the more checkups you need. And I guess those vet visits aren't just a quick glance, right?
Oh, no, it's more than that. It's a chance for them to do a really good exam, give them their shots, and make sure they're protected from parasites. And it's a good time to talk to the vet about anything you're worried about, their health, their behavior, anything. Vets are such a great resource, so don't be afraid to ask questions and make sure your dog gets what they need.
Speaking of shots, I know those are important, but I gotta admit, I'm not totally clear on what they're actually for. What diseases are we protecting them from?
Vaccinations, they're meant to protect dogs from some really bad diseases. Some of them can even be deadly, like rabies, distemper, parvovirus. Those can be really serious.
So it's like giving them a shield, huh? And what about those pesky fleas and ticks and things? How do we keep those away?
Parasite prevention, that's super important too, especially if your dog is outside a lot. There are different ways to do it. You can put stuff on their skin or give them medicine by mouth. Your vet can tell you what's best for your dog, based on what they do and where they go.
So between the shots and the parasite stuff, we're really taking care of them. But what about at home? What can we do to make sure they're doing okay? What should we be watching for?
Just paying attention, that's the most important thing. You got to watch their behavior, see how much they're eating, how energetic they are, and even their bathroom habits. If anything changes a lot from what's normal, it could mean something's wrong.
So we got to be tuned in to those little signs, huh? What are some things that should make us call the vet right away?
If they're not eating as much, or if they're eating way more than usual, that's one thing to watch for. And if they're suddenly really tired, throwing up, having diarrhea, or having trouble breathing, those are definitely serious. Keep an eye on their skin and fur, too. If those change a lot, it could mean something's going on.
So it's always better to be safe and ask the vet if we're not sure. Right. And speaking of being prepared, this guide mentions having a first aid kit just for our dogs. What kind of stuff should be in that?
Yeah, that's a good idea to have a kit ready for those little emergencies. Stuff like gauze pads, antiseptic wipes, tweezers, a thermometer you can use on them, and even a muzzle just in case you need it. That can all be really helpful while you're waiting to see the vet.
It's like having a little emergency room just for your furry friend.
Yeah.
So we talked about vet visits, vaccinations, parasite prevention, and even being ready for emergencies. It's pretty clear taking good care of their health means being proactive, right?
Absolutely. And remember, this deep dive's been great, but it's always best to talk to your own vet. They can give you specific advice for your dog. They're your partners in this, making sure your dog is happy and healthy.
That's a good way to put it. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive into all things dog care, I got to say, I've learned so much. It's really all about understanding, love, and commitment.
You said it. Feeding them good food, keeping their minds busy, all those belly rubs and games of fetch. Caring for a dog makes our lives so much richer in so many ways. It's a responsibility, for sure, but it's also such a privilege to share our lives with them.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here with us for this deep dive. And remember, being a dog owner, it's a journey that lasts a lifetime, full of love, laughter, and loyalty that never ends. Keep those tails wagging.